there has to be an element of danger, and I think we have sucked all of the danger out of music. Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of the highest quality woven guitar, bag, and camera straps you'll ever see. Native Sons straps are handmade one at a time in the USA with unparalleled love and care. Click the link in the description to check out their new expanded lineup featuring all new 3-inch guitar straps. And remember, when you support my sponsor, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it.
Hey y'all, it's Shitpost Friday.
First thing I do when I'm back on top, I get that sound, man.
Hey, how's it hanging, chicks and chumps? Brad the Guitologist here, and it's time once again for
Shitpost Friday.
We got a lot to cover this Shitpost Friday, so let's jump right into the news. First up in the news, police in the Nashville area in Murfreesboro, Tennessee have once again put out a warrant for this motherfucker. Hayden Snyder, it seems, just cannot quit shoving guitars down his pants.
Some guitar shop owners claim a particular face, name, and crime is becoming all too familiar. Video caught this man running off with stolen guitars after stuffing them down his pants.
I thought it was odd that he had a big coat on because it wasn't cold. Friendly dude, you know? And he asked me, so what about that guitar in there?
Dub says he talked to another customer while the man in the coat tried out a guitar.
I was right here. He was on a stool. He was sitting on a stool right there.
The man in the coat left quietly.
And I just happened to glance in there where he had been playing that guitar and it was gone. This guy had to have had it under his coat, down his pant leg, something.
Murfreesboro police have a warrant out for this man, Hayden Snyder, who may look familiar.
A lot of shop owners say the same crime by the same guy has happened again and again and again. And these places are just the start.
In addition to Dubspot, we've spoken to 7 shop owners across Murfreesboro, Brentwood, and Nashville who all say they've had an instrument stolen by Snyder, usually snuck out in his pants. Lane Music in Brentwood shared their surveillance video with us back in January, where you see the neck of the guitar going down a pant leg, the body hidden by a coat, and the changed walk as he goes out the door.
He's actually hit a 7th store in the Murfreesboro, Nashville area, and like I said, police have issued another warrant for the guy, but at what point are we going to wise up and just chop the motherfucker's hands off is what I'm wondering.
I'm going to get medieval on your ass.
When are we going to get Byzantine on this dude so that he stops stealing people's hard-earned guitars?
Up his ass.
And goes and actually buys one for a change. I mean, if you look at the guy, clearly he has a coke habit. Allegedly, I should say. Allegedly has a coke habit. Here in this photograph, it looks like he's trying to choke back his own vomit.
Are you okay?
But you get an idea of what this guy looks like. He's a bit of a changeling. Here he's got one kind of haircut. Here he's got another kind of haircut. The third picture you could see him, he's got a baseball cap, so you know, a bit of a changeling. I guess he changes his appearance so that the music stores don't get wise to him. But I mean, at what point are the cops going to get wise to him and just throw his ass behind bars and keep him there? Because he's always going to be a nuisance. He's always going to be a piece of shit. I've known people like this my entire life. Once they start down this path, there's almost no redemption for somebody like this. I mean, I like to believe in redemption, but sometimes you just got to cut a motherfucker loose. And sometimes, sadly, you just need to cut a motherfucker's hands off. And I think that's probably what needs to happen to our dear Mr. Snyder here. I have absolutely no patience for guitar thieves. I hate them. I hate them from the pit of my stomach. From every fiber of my being. Just oozes hate for guitar thieves. And this guy has hit 7 music stores now. So guess where he is on my hate list. Yeah, we've actually covered this guy before. You know, it was a funny thing. Like, you know, the first time or two, like, yeah, dude, it's kind of funny. You know, you get caught, maybe slap the guy on the wrist, turn him back loose and say, don't do it again. But then after 7 times, I mean, the guy's hit 7 different stores. If this dude was in Afghanistan, they would have already stoned him to death. Once you've given him so many chances at redemption, what do you do with somebody? You bury him under the jail? I mean, is there a special cell you can keep him in that has no guitars to stuff down his pants? I mean, for Christ's sake, dude, just buy a guitar, play the fucking thing, get a job, stop being a fucking loser. But, you know, a tiger cannot change its stripes, and this guy is probably never going to change. I'm sure everybody in his life has given him many, many chances to change, and he still hasn't done it. What do you do? What do you do?
No, Mama. There's no hope for him now, Travis.
In other news that we've also covered before, Mick Jagger is back to playing shape. He recently had a heart surgery. We covered that not too long ago, and I kind of speculated, well, will this be the end of the Rolling Stones? I mean, Mick Jagger's really getting up there. Was he like 75 years old, something like that? And you know, he's got to be reaching the end of his working career anyway. So, I mean, is this going to spell the end for him? Well, apparently not. He's back to actually singing, or not singing, but it does say he's playing guitar after the Rolling Stones announce a rescheduled dates for their 2019 tour. So, Mick Jagger, I guess, is going to continue on, so good for him. And in other similar news, we reported here some months back that Lindsey Buckingham had heart surgery also. I think his heart surgery was actually a little more severe than Mick Jagger's heart surgery. I think his was actually an open heart surgery. But he appeared at his daughter's graduation ceremony from high school playing the song Landslide. Check it out. Yeah, so a choir of high schoolers was backing him up on this. Pretty cool moment, and his wife tweeted out it's the first time that she had seen Lindsey play in the last 4 months, all the while Lily, that's their daughter, ending her high school career, and she sings a little Landslide with her dad. And she says, "I'll admit I cried." Kind of a touching moment, and I have to admit it's really good to see a guy like this back on his feet. It does point out that some singers have suffered permanent vocal cord damage as a result of what he went through with the tubes and stuff down his throat. And we reported some months back that it might have permanently damaged his vocal cords also. So fingers crossed and prayers going out for Lindsey. Hopefully he can make a full and swift recovery. But it looks like he's at least well on his way, and he's playing the guitar again, which is nice to see. Speaking also of medical incidents, check this out. This guitarist from the band Gojira was playing at some festival or other, some big rock show, and this pyrotechnic goes off on the stage, and he's plenty of feet away from the thing. He's well back of the pyrotechnic, but there's just a freak windstorm coming in, and it just blows this pyrotechnic fire right toward his face, and you can see him kind of walk off stage, and luckily it was toward the end of this song, and they just kind of ended the song, I think, and took a break. But the tough motherfucker comes back on stage, just douses his face with some water and keeps going.
Respect.
I guess he's going to be okay, but yeah, it takes a pretty tough cookie to take a shot of pyrotechnic right in the face and then come back on stage and finish your set. I guess his burns weren't that severe, but it kind of brings up the question too. I mean, the modern live rock show has become sterile in so many different ways. We've got things like holograms now that can bring back dead people and make them appear to be on stage. We've got all these Kemper modeling amplifiers that can pretend to be any half stack or full stack that you want them to sound like. We've got all kinds of trickery and wizardry to make you sound like you're in any number of environments on the stage. We've also got, fake tracks, we've got click tracks, we've got, all the in-ear monitors, and so, we've got all these different things. All this modern technology has come in the past, 10 or 20 years, and why hasn't anybody figured out a safer way to do pyrotechnics yet? And will there ever be an acceptable way to do pyrotechnics safely, like in a hologram or something like that? I mean, is there ever going to be a method, that's going to fully eliminate pyrotechnics and make them 100% safe? Because there's been a lot of motherfuckers who've just had enormous burns on large areas of their body. James Hetfield was one of them. If you recall a set a long time ago where they had to end the show, and then Axl Rose came out and caused a riot right after that. But he's not the only one. There's a long succession of musicians who've just been really burned and hurt badly by onstage pyrotechnics. So, I mean, it's only a matter of time, I would say, before somebody is just burned alive on stage in front of an audience of many, many thousands of people. And at what point do you say, hey, this is an unacceptable work hazard, and we have to come up with some kind of technology, to sterilize this, to make it more and more safe? I mean, I can definitely foresee a time when some states or some countries or provinces or what have you might outlaw on-stage pyrotechnics, and I'm sure some already have. And it just take the last vestiges of danger out of the rock show. Speaking of taking all the danger out of the rock show, Joe Bonamassa asked this question, when did loud guitar or guitarist becomes such a pariah? He goes into a lot of stuff I've been thinking a lot about lately because, you know, a lot of other YouTubers have been posting things like, how many amps do you need? You know, is it the end of tube amps as we know it? Is everybody going to go to modeling amps? And in this article, Joe Bonamassa makes some good points. You know, you have to admit that all your favorite guitar sounds are based on amps working hard through speaker cabinets. You know, we've got big stacks through actual speaker cabinets, and those sounds sound that way for a reason, and they respond that way for a reason, and they create the excitement that they create for a reason, because when you strap on a Gibson Les Paul and plug it into a Marshall half stack and crank the thing, you know, up to 7 or 8 or however loud you can stand to crank it, and you hit that first chord, you know instantaneously you are on the back of a wild stallion, and you just need to hang on for dear life. And the thing is, while you're playing this thing, it's gonna give away every little mistake, every nuance. When you jump around the stage, it's gonna, you know, you're gonna be able to feel the energy of that. When you lay into the strings, the harder you hit the sons of bitches, you know, the better it's gonna sound, the more crunch you're gonna get out of it. And it's just one of those things you really cannot emulate. You can sterilize a live environment to the point where a live show is no longer even worth watching. You might as well go up to your hotel room and just watch it on fucking Panavision or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think probably 9 out of the last 10 shows that I've really paid to go see were pretty good. You know, the mixes all sounded great. Everything sounded perfect. Nobody really made any mistakes. You know, but the thing about it is, it's so much. It can sometimes things can be too perfect. You know, it's just the way it is. I mean, if you listen to some really old deep fried Southern blues, you know, for instance, if you listen to some Lightning Hopkins, or you go listen to some early Robert Johnson recordings or things like that, I mean, those recordings are just messy. Their performances are messy. There are, you know, missed notes all over the place. There's like, you know, it's real though. It's real. And the same can be said for a lot of live performances. And it just seems to me that anymore, this focus has been on, because I guess maybe of flagging CD sales. It's like everybody has focused so much on their live performances and trying to perfect their live shows that they, you know, and all this new technology has made it so possible to, you know, reproduce other parts of the songs that you don't even have to have the players there to reproduce anymore. So it's like, you've got all these recorded tracks that everybody's playing to, and everybody's playing to, and the drummer's playing to a click, and he's had to rehearse it 10,000 times to get right onto this click, and you know, everybody's right in the pocket and right on the click, and you've got the fucking lead guitar players playing through a goddamn Kemper, and you know, everything just sounds exactly right. Everything sits right in the mix where it's supposed to. But the problem is, if you run this live show in high speed, you see everybody moves like a 2-foot radius from the spot they have to be to hit their switches, or to hit, you know, to hit their spots where they got to sing into this microphone at this time, or they've got to, you know what I mean? Everything is just so fucking sterile now. And that's the reason I didn't go see Tool this last time. It's like, you know, you got Maynard James Keenan. He's been at the back of that fucking stage for, you know, 20 years now almost. Since 2001 was the first time I saw him, when he was standing at the back of the stage. And at the time I thought, oh, cool, man. Oh, he's like, it's mysterious. He's in the fucking shadows. But, I mean, but he's still doing it. He's still doing it. It's 2019 now, and he's still doing that. You know, I don't want to see Maynard James Keenan in the shadows. I want the guy out front, you know, responding to the energy of the fucking crowd. You know, the other two guys aren't any kind of show. They walk around in a 2-foot radius too. I mean, the show is the light show. And don't get me wrong, Tool's an awesome band. Their playing is phenomenal. And you know, going to a Tool show is better than not going to the Tool show, I suppose. You know, if I had the option of a free ticket, I'd definitely go to the fucking Tool show. But at the same time, it's like everything has gotten so, almost so perfect. And these guys don't play to tracks, don't get me wrong. I mean, Tool's not one of those guys, one of those bands that sort of play to tracks like I'm talking about, but everything has just gotten so damn sterile, you know, and everybody is just so perfect that nobody takes risks. Everybody has the perfect tone, and now you've just got all these YouTubers, and everybody seems to be clamoring for minimalism. Like, everybody, sell all your amps, get rid of Get rid of your big half stacks. You don't need them at all. You know, and don't get me wrong, I'm also a proponent of smaller amplifiers, you know, and having a small collection of studio amps in case you know, especially if you're somebody who does a lot of recording, because it's nice to have some different tones. And then you got people say, well, you can put all those different tones into one box or you on your computer or whatever and just do modeling and you don't have to worry about it. But no, it's not the same. It's not the same. It doesn't give you the same energy. And I guarantee you, anybody who's been to a live show where they had real amplifiers and they were rocking out and they just grabbed the bull by the horns and just held on for dear life as they rocked out for this Marshall stack, you know, it's a bit different feeling that it gives the audience than somebody who's just pussyfooting around on a fucking Kemper. What I'm trying to say is things can be too perfect. The technology can go too far. You can get too focused on the technology and your gear, and you know, it can go the other way too. And some people can be gear hounds for only vintage stuff, and they can be snobs and turn their noses up at newer technologies too. And I think that's also wrong. But I think ultimately the thing is, does it enhance your performance, or does it make your performance more sterile? You know, are you giving an audience everything you can possibly give them, or are you holding something back because your equipment makes you feel like you have to sit right here in this one little area, and if you bust out of this sonic area, you will have committed some faux pas, and the sound guy will yell at you or some shit. You know what I mean? It's like, when did we give sound guys so much fucking control? It's supposed to be the artist in control. The artist should be able to reach back there and turn up the fucking Marshall and like, hey man, I want my solo to be right there now. And I know sound guys hate that shit, and often it does fuck up the mix, and it causes the show to go crazy, and you know what I mean? But you need some of that. You need some shows to go off the rails every now and then, because it keeps things fresh, god damn it. You need risk of failure for something to be truly great. I mean, am I making sense here? You have to risk falling off the goddamn bull and falling on your face. Otherwise, it's not exciting, is it? I mean, if you're just sitting in one little sonic area and it's, you know, it's predictable, then it's not exciting. But anyway, I think that's partly what Joe Bonamassa was getting at. And, you know, he does ask the question, when did electric guitar become such a pariah? And I mean, and just one look at this. I mean, you could see the state of the electric guitar. I mean, they've built a 400-foot hotel shaped like a goddamn guitar body in Florida. And, you know, I mean, this is just a monument to excess. It's like, you know, I mean, it's no wonder the guitar has an image problem. I mean, look at this. It's like the guitar now represents everything wrong with society, right? It's like, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm a capitalist. I love prosperity. I want everyone to be prosperous. But I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is like, it's fake. Everything about it just oozes fake. You know, you're going to this place, you're going to stay in this fake hotel with a fake casino and you know, surrounded by fake art, and everything is plastic and, you know, glass, and there's no real wealth here. It's all an illusion of wealth. The glass itself is an illusion. I mean, if you look at it, the building itself almost even looks like an illusion. It looks like sky is just sort of there. I don't know, man. I'm just I think the older I get, the more I kind of feel this way. It's, you know, I want to recapture that feeling that you got when you were young in the pit of your stomach when you hit that first chord on a guitar and it sounded right and it sounded good and everything in the universe aligned for that moment. And I know that's hard to capture. It's hard to capture lightning in a bottle. But when you've got Mark Knopfler playing fucking Kempers now, you know, I mean, there's just something wrong with it, you know. And I listened to this video and everything, and it sounds great, you know. I mean, the band sounds great, it sounds tight, everybody's in their place. And if you look at Mark Knopfler, you know, sure enough, he's right there standing 2 feet away from the microphone, and you know, everything is as it should be, and everybody sounds exactly like they should, and there's absolutely no danger involved in any of it, you know. And I don't mean to pick on Mark Knopfler. I don't mean to pick on people who use Kemper. I'm sure you could use a Kemper in a lot of different ways, and I'm sure, you know, it could probably be damn scary too, you know, if you plug into one you don't know the song, for instance, you know. But that's kind of what I'm talking about. Maybe play some shit that you have to figure out on the spot or something to freshen things up, and make it seem less rehearsed, do something to make it seem less robotic, because it seems like the live show, the art of the live show is just being lost, you know, on everybody except for young kids in a garage somewhere. And the problem is, I don't know where those kids are because I haven't seen them in years. I can't tell you the last time I heard of any kids jamming in anybody's fucking garage or basement. Have you? I mean, do you know of any kids in your neighborhood who jam in their garage or their basement? Do you know of any? Because I don't. I mean, everybody takes their kids now to these rock schools where it's safe and sterile, and everybody can meet everybody in a sterile and safe environment where the parents can, like, supervise and all this shit. You know what I mean?
We're squares, Allison, and squares gotta stick together.
Where nobody gets into trouble. You know, to me, that just wasn't what playing music was all about when I was growing up. It just wasn't. That would not have appealed to me, to be honest. I mean, if anything, that would have made me not want to play guitar. It's like, okay, so this is the only place you're saying I can play with a band? I don't think I would have been interested. I might have gone and built robots or something. I don't know. There has to be an element of danger, and I think we have sucked all of the danger out of music. There's no danger. There's no fucking danger anymore. Just like even saying the word fuck on YouTube. It's like, he's bringing it down, you know, or goddamn, or any of this stuff. Saying anything. It's like, I'm going to offend somebody. I'm going to offend this side of my audience. I'm going to offend that side of my audience. Or I'm going to offend YouTube, you know, executives or some shit, and they're going to teabag. They're going to teabag my channel with demonetization or shadow banning or whatever, you know. There's no danger in anything anymore, and it's starting to piss me off. That's what's happening. It's just starting to piss me off. Yeah, you know, it's so funny that a lot of the commentary that I made about this subject, this Joe Bonamassa thing, I actually recorded before I even read the entire thing, and and he's basically saying a lot of the same crap that I said. He talks about in-ear monitors, and you know, 100% with him on that. When you're sitting there listening to in-ear monitors from your band, and no matter where on the stage you are, it all sounds the same. You know, what's the point in moving around? You can just stand in one spot and have the exact same sound. There's no sweet spot on the stage. There's no place you can get your guitar where it's gonna where you can actually hear it and feel it resonate, and you can hear it feedback. You know, you're hearing basically whatever mix that the sound guy has decided to give you, and he may give you some mix where you're sounding phenomenal, where your guitar in the monitors and your in-ear monitors sounds great, and you're like, oh man, this sounds freaking fantastic. It must sound glorious out front, but really out front, your guitar sounds anemic. He just kind of buried you, and he's trying to produce an album out front rather than let the energy flow from the players that are on the stage. You know, the real performer there has become the sound man. And this is exactly what Joe Bonamassa is talking about. You know, that the sound man now has more power over how you sound and the energy that you put into a performance than you do even. I 100% agree with everything he's saying here. You guys really should read this and absorb this. You know, I don't know if I always agree with everything this guy says, but this is pretty spot on. All of this audio goodness is predicated on your willingness to turn down and sacrifice yourself for the greater good on stage, which is one misnomer I found shocking when I was convinced to do it 5 years ago. So he's talking about somebody convinced him to turn down on stage, and they would, you know, that way they could, you know, get the mix right and put him out front, you know, where he should be in the mix. And that might be important if you have a whole lot of players behind you. But I don't think in most cases Joe Bonamassa, he's got a band. He's got a bass player and he's got a drummer. He might have a singer. He might have a second guitar player, something like that, a guest appearance by somebody, and maybe some keys. But it's not like he's got a huge ensemble, you know, behind him. He doesn't have, like, you know, a huge horn section all the time, although I think I've seen him with some horns. Once you get so deep into it and so involved in it, and you try to make everything just perfect for the front of house, you kind of lose something in the translation. Something gets lost, some sort of energy, some sort of magic gets lost because you on the stage the performance is lacking. Once you get behind the monitor zone and everybody's got in-ears, so you've got these little tiny monitors that everybody's trying to use because they don't want to muddy up the on-stage sound. it loses something in the performance. The performers aren't giving what they could be giving because of, you know, just the lack of feeling that's on the stage. You're not feeling the performance from everybody, and you might as well be performing in separate rooms. You know, you might as well put a bunch of boxes on the stage. And actually, somebody should do that. Somebody should just make a commentary about the status quo. Just put a bunch of sound booths up on the stage, and it probably wouldn't change the performance that goddamn much. Just stick, like, you know, a vocal sound booth here for the guitar player, and another sound booth here for the drummer, and another one up here for the singer, and just, you know, put everybody in their own little separate sound booths, and you can't get out of it, and you just have a little window there that you can just look out onto the audience, but you're actually just inside of this sound booth. And there's no there's no bleed into anybody's microphones, and everybody's perfect, and you've got just a perfect live sound. You might even, maybe you can put one microphone or maybe even a stereo pair of microphones to get like the crowd sound. So the sound guy can, like, he can ease that in and out at the end of each thing, and you can make a perfect live recording that way. You can just record your album live on stage, and it won't be a live performance anymore. It'll just be a live in-studio performance. You know, you've got the Swiss Army knife approach now, where this will do everything you need it really to do. You know, you don't need anything else. You might need one practice amp for your house, and then you need just one Kemper or something like that to take to your gig, and that's it. You know, minimalist. You can actually even see it in the production of a lot of people's on a lot of people's YouTube channels. You know, everybody's going minimalist. It's like, oh, we gotta strip everything down behind. I mean, you notice my shit's all fucked up because I'm in my work zone here. But, you know, for a lot of YouTubers too, it's like, you know, whatever's going on behind you can't be distracting. You have a couple of pedals, you know, or some guitars and stuff, and, you know, or a couple of posters and a real clean space. You know, every bit of personality has just been scrubbed out of it. You know, just scrub all the personality out of it. I would much rather it be like the bathroom walls at CBGB's or something. You know what I mean? That's punk rock. It's like you walk into a place, you know instantly if this venue has a soul. Yeah, or if you put on an album, you know pretty much instantly whether this album is going to have a soul. You walk into on somebody's live show, you know probably within the first song or two whether or not this performance is going to have a soul to it, just based on how the musicians are approaching their own music and how they're approaching their performance. You know, are they trying to make everything sound perfect, or are they trying to pour their heart and soul into this? You know, are they trying to say, hey, I'm here to make a fucking statement. Even if I fuck up and fall on my face, there will be a statement in this somewhere. It's going to be real. It's going to be immediate. You know, you're here to witness something today. You're going to witness something tonight. You know what I mean? And I don't feel that way most of the time with most of the live shows that are taking place now, and I think it's down to the equipment. I think it's down to the approach and the equipment. I think everybody's reading the same Guitar World articles or the, you know, Premier Guitar articles, or they're listening to the same YouTubers and they think they have to do it this way. You know, you have to get the in-ear monitors and you have to get the one Swiss Army knife solution. You know, and everything is just technology, and you just lose soul every time you do it. But yeah, that's basically what he's saying here. The sound engineers found themselves in control of dynamics. Let's see, okay. He's saying he was convinced to do this 5 years ago. It lasted one tour, and I found I was living in a divergent reality from what the audience was experiencing. Yeah. The sound engineers found themselves in control of dynamics. That was unacceptable to me. Yeah, they're in control of dynamics. They're sitting there moving the stuff up and down. You know, they're moving the faders in and out for you. So yes, they're going to be in control of the dynamics. You might turn your guitar up, but they might back it right back off as you turn your guitar up. You know, as if they know better than you, the artist. You know, and they don't realize it. They don't realize it, but the audience knows it. The audience knows it. How many times have you been to a live show lately where the audience got up on its feet and was like excited to see, and wasn't just sitting there on their phones, you know, the whole time? like this, you know? How many times did you see and even if they do have their phones, how many times have you seen full audiences like up on their feet going, yeah, yeah, and like chicks on dudes' shoulders, like showing their tits, and you know, this the craziness that used to happen at live shows. How many times do you even see that anymore? It reminds me, the other day there was this thing, fucking The Who did a performance, and Roger Daltrey of The Who lectured the crowd after the show about their marijuana smoking.
Thank you so much for coming. I've got to tell you, all the ones smoking grass down the front here, I'm totally allergic to it. I'm not kidding, whoever it is down there, you fucked my night, you made me really, I'm allergic to that shit, and my voice just goes and sucks up. So fuck you. Eat it!
And he just became this school principal or something on stage, like just bitching about how, oh, your marijuana smoking is making it hard for me to sing up here, so fuck you. Seriously? Fucking seriously? The Who is lecturing people? I mean, come on, dude. This is pansy ass bullshit. The Who just needs to retire. If that's the way you feel about it, then just get your fucking fat old ass off the fucking stage, you stupid retard. Seriously. Artistically, you're already dead. If you're spending the end of your show lecturing your audience about, oh, your marijuana smoke, where you tried to have a little bit of fun like in the old days, you know, and I'm not even advocating for marijuana use. I mean, you can make that mistake and think, oh, he's a marijuana advocate. I think it should be legal, but that's not even my point. My point is, holy shit, if you're just lecturing your crowd, then what the hell's the point? Well, what are you doing anymore? You know what I mean? Just stop. Just retire. Your royalty checks aren't what they used to be in the 80s, but you're just going to have to get over it, Roger Daltrey. You know, just get over it. Go do something else. Go become a painter or something. Hell, even George Bush was able to do that. You know, do something else. Obviously, this is not your gig anymore. It's not your scene. You know what I mean? Why beat a dead horse, and why make the death any harder than it has to be? But Joe Bonamassa continues, it should be unacceptable to you as well, purely from an artistic point of view. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like I just said. The artist should be in control of his own dynamics. It's like letting Siri control the throttle on your car during the 24 hours of the Le Mans road race. Yeah. Concerning the guitar sound or tone in general, you will find the lower volume on stage and higher volume in the PA does not necessarily equate to a fatter, fuller sound. I agree. Most of the times it does not, especially when you listen back to live recordings of your gigs. You have to admit that a 1 watt amp through a speaker simulation isn't gonna cut it in comparison to a 100 watt Marshall through 4 cabs like Alvin Lee at Woodstock. This should be self-evident to anyone. It's a revolution, okay? It's a revolution and a revelation. When you plug into a real amplifier, after having played your little, your little Boss or something, in your bedroom. You're playing on this thing and it sounds good, in your headphones, or it sounds good in your bedroom or whatever. Yeah, I could practice my licks on this and everything sounds fine, for this purpose. It's great. Sounds awesome. I can even do the line out into a little board or something and it sounds fat and huge. I can put some drums behind it and I can make a little mini album with some little bedroom amp and make it sound enormous. I can put some delay on it and make it sound like it's in a ginormous cavern. But, are you going to be able to hit that one chord? And are you going to be able to let it ring and just go, and just feed back? No, you're not going to get any. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that sweet spot. You're not going to get the fatness. You're not going to get the response. You're not going to get that holy shit, that feeling of, oh my God, I'm riding on a raging bull and if I fall off, he's going to kill me. You know what I mean? There's just this white knuckle thing, to playing a real amp, and it comes across in the energy of your performance, whether you realize it or not. The listener knows it, and it's known at a visceral level. You can listen to some people's demos And you know right away what type of equipment they've recorded it on. You know, they've recorded it on, either they've gone straight into a little a board and a little digital audio workstation into the computer, and they've done all of the stuff in emulations on the computer, you know, or whether they've actually plugged into real equipment, real tube amps, and mic'd those suckers up and cranked them, you know, or gotten that dynamic response that you get with a real amp. You can tell it, you know, on a visceral level, and it may not even be something you consciously understand, but you do know it viscerally, you know, what you're listening to. He goes on to say, the knobs on your guitar were put there for a reason, remember. Not all gigs call for that type of sound, but most times you are told it sounds massive out front. Truth be told, it sounds like a hive of bees. And if you were in the audience during your own gig, you wouldn't be impressed at all. Bottom line, you need to play the gig, volume and amp appropriate. But don't change what you do to suit someone's engineering and audio fantasy. They will come at you fast and furious with solutions and ways to take you off your game plan. My advice is to stand your ground and be the guitarist you worked so hard to be. Make Buddy Guy and Jimi Hendrix proud. Also, most importantly, make yourself proud of the work you do and the legacy you leave behind. I'm going to tell you something. You know, all the gigs that I can remember recently, and I say recently, within the past 5 or 10 years that I've been to, where I felt like I just witnessed something, you know, that could be life-changing or important. You know, and even if it's just important to the people in that room and that jam space or whatever, it's almost always been, you know, these no-name, nobody bands who were, you know, just shaking the walls with some real tube amps and just pounding on shit like they were still in the garage. Man, there's just something about it. It just gets you viscerally. It makes you want to jump around and dance like you're a kid again. You know, I'm a 41-year-old man, and that time for me is pretty much past. I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got a mortgage, and I'm not going to be going to, you know, everybody's punk rock shows. I'm just not going to be probably doing that very much anymore, but I would like to feel like that. You know, if I go to see a live show, I would like to feel that I'm at a happening, not just where somebody is regurgitating the shit that they've learned and they're playing to a click track. So, you know, I would just have to echo Joe Bonamassa there. I mean, be true to yourself. Don't let the sound man dictate everything that you do. He does not always know best. Sometimes, yeah, the sound man does know a little bit more than you. If you need to turn down just a hair so it sounds a little better, you know, to compliment everybody, that's great. But maybe have somebody else play your guitar and double check that opinion. You know, get somebody else up during sound check and you walk out front and hear what it sounds like. Okay, what kind of sound are you making me have here out front? You know what I mean? And yeah, you know, don't be afraid to turn up your amp a little bit on stage so you can hit that sweet spot and stand on that little X that you've made where I know I can get feedback right here if I need it. I can crank up my guitar and stand right here and move this direction and get wah, and my shit will resonate like a tuning fork. You know, you need that. You have to have that. And if you don't have something like that, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing? You might as well be playing acoustics. I'm sure there's a cafe who would love to have you strap on an acoustic and plug it in with your crappy sounding piezo element, you know, through a shitty pair of house cafe speakers. I'm sure there's somebody who would have that gig. You know what I mean? Where it's all about the lyrics and the poetry, and you know, it doesn't matter what you sound like. So anyway, that's all of that. Alright guys, that's going to about do it for Shitpost Friday here on Channel 1. I have enough material for an entire bonus Shitpost Friday over on Channel 2, so do be sure to go over to Channel 2 and subscribe over there so that you can see that. It'll probably be up either tomorrow or Sunday, most likely. Hope you've enjoyed listening to my rant here on this Shitpost Friday. This is not the Shitpost Friday I intended to make, but this is the one that came out, so I do hope you've enjoyed it. And for now, y'all take care.